Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've seen rumors the past few days that the Democrats internally are getting very, very worried. And we've got CNN here confirming it and admitting it, reporting that sources close to the Harris camp say that they're having flashbacks to 2016. So potentially Trump winning around 306, maybe 312 if he takes Nevada electoral votes. And also people talking about Trump possibly winning the popular vote, maybe going for the kill shot with the Madison Square Garden rally in New York. Trump expected to perform significantly better in New York and help him cut into that popular vote advantage. And then obviously a lot of the state races as well going to California. That's going to help with the general election in California. That's going to swing it a little bit. Obviously help with the House races. But you do have this story here. These polls are not really moving despite multiple battleground places, despite the opportunities she's had to access media outlets. There is still not a lot of movement from voters who are moving more towards her versus Donald Trump. If the public polls are tied, that means Trump leads. We've learned this from 2016 to 2020. Well, we would certainly expect that. The liberal argument is, oh, they're going to overcorrect because they were so wrong in 2016 and 2020 to where they underestimated Trump. Now they're going to overestimate him, and then they'll cite the midterms, even though the midterms were relatively pretty accurate, and you can't compare midterms to a general election, especially midterms that didn't have Donald Trump on the ballot. It's like apples to oranges. That's what they'll say, but the general thought is, yes, if it's tied, and I think CNN realizes this, and the internal people within the Democratic Party realize this, they're not seeing that gap that needs to be built up because maybe, you would expect from what we saw in 2016 and 2020, the polls to still underestimate Trump, but there's this understanding that they're going to be closer. They're not going to underestimate him like they did and how off they were in 2020 and 2016. But we're still not seeing that gap that Biden was able to build, that Hillary was able to build in any of these swing states. In fact, if you look at Real Clear Politics, you could argue right now with no polling error, Trump is the favorite, which is pretty remarkable. And I think they probably thought, and that's why it's weird what they're doing. Walz is now going on Fox News. There's reports they're going to let him loose and let his personality really shine, which is very feminine. It's not attractive to, a potential male voter. The masculine males who they're losing. That's why last night they did the whole pathetic stunt where Colbert tried to work it into his little segment. He's like, "Let's have a beer," It's the party of vibes. It's the campaign of vibes. We're gonna have a little beer. It's like he's trying to tie it in so they have a beer and it looks good, so men vote for her, or it helps with males because that's what they're really trying to go for. But their party is so entrenched with hating white men. It's like, how do you ask for their vote now? It seems so disingenuous, and it's what's killing them. And it's going to be men versus women because we know men right now, I wouldn't say overwhelmingly, but it's like plus 10, plus 12, plus 15 for Trump, depending on which general election poll you look at. And with women, it is Kamala up, although I think it's a little bit different than Hillary versus Kamala. With Hillary, there was at least some hype behind the first female president, more empowering. With Kamala, she was just installed, and it doesn't feel nearly as organic, even though you could argue that they rigged it for Hillary back in 2016 over Bernie, but that's another story. At least she went through a primary process. I mean, Kamala Harris is a complete train wreck. It's question after question after question. She finally got grilled with 60 Minutes, and she got crushed so bad to the point where 60 Minutes had to cut out some of her word salad answers to make her look better, and you could even see how they cut it out. It looked terrible when they presented it, but give credit to 60 Minutes. They went after her. The interviewer did a good job, and she was like a deer in headlights, and they're asking her, how is your, the whole thing is, oh, we're going to be the campaign of change, and she can't name a single thing she's going to do different than Biden. I am not kidding you. This is like the entry level stuff when you're talking about your campaign slogan is about change, and you're asked a lob softball question from a very friendly late night show host, and you cannot answer it. She could not answer the question. I don't know if she wasn't ready. It's just like, it's so pathetic. And so now you're seeing significant panic, and apparently Biden just hates Kamala. Jill hates Kamala. You have to understand the power dynamic within that. Jill is like, at this point within the Biden family, she's the she-bitch. She's the leader. Okay, she's the figurehead of the Bidens. She controls everything. So she feels really disenfranchised right now. That's why she was leading that meeting. If you guys saw about a month ago, it went viral or whatever, a few weeks ago, where she's like leading center stage and the people are like, oh, this is so pathetic. She didn't get elected. She doesn't care. She's leading. Joe at this point, he's barely hanging on. He's realizing in the back of his head how much he's been taken advantage of. And now he's starting to turn and do things and undercut Kamala. And he's like, no, Ron DeSantis has been great. I don't know what that bitch is saying. That's basically what he said to, when Kamala's like, oh, he's playing politics talking about DeSantis. And Biden completely undercuts him. And now Biden's doing interviews. He's talking when Kamala goes out to do her rallies in front of 700 people. It is a total mess within the Democratic Party. And even CNN now coming out and admitting that, yeah, these polls are not turning how they thought they were going to turn, probably post the DNC. Now, they did turn a little bit, but then we saw a shift back. And now we're starting to see, especially within the betting markets, and also some of these pollsters that were, previously very far left wing, like a Quinnipiac, they're starting to admit Donald Trump might win Michigan by like 2 points. And if that happens, you would figure Pennsylvania is going to go to Trump. You would figure Wisconsin is going to go to Trump, and you're already up against it. And this is the other problem for the Democrats is it's just such a different environment from 2016 and 2020 when you're talking about the lead up to the election in terms of the electoral math. They don't have a chance at Florida now. They're probably going to lose it by double digits. If you look at the recent polling along with what happened in 2022 and 2020 with that shift with COVID, how Republican it got. Remember, they tried saying it like 4 or 5 days ago, or maybe it was like a week ago. Oh, Florida could potentially go to the Democrats. There is zero chance of that. And then we finally got the cold water on the fire with the New York Times Siena poll that had Trump up 13.5 in Florida. So they don't have Florida. There's no electoral math for them in Florida. That's 30 electoral votes wiped off the board. Ohio is gone. That's another 16 electoral votes wiped off the board. I think it adds up to like 46, 47 total that they don't have a chance at. So now they're pigeonholed. Now they have to win. They have to sweep the Rust Belt. They have to look at a state like a Georgia, which they did win barely, although it's not expected they're going to win again. They have to look at a North Carolina. There's not a lot of paths for them this cycle, and so there has to be internal pressure when you look at Kamala Harris and the answers she's giving, and I would imagine she's going to start flailing and going on different shows. And I will say, if I was the Harris campaign, Fox News is really desperate for a debate because they did not get one this cycle in terms of the presidential debates, and so Fox News just gave Kamala a real nice gift because it doesn't look like Trump wants to debate again, and Fox News says, we'll give you a debate either October 24th or the 27th, which could affect it a little bit, although with the early voting, it's not going to be as much. I mean, you'd like to have the debates earlier, but obviously Kamala denied the first debate again with Trump on the 4th of October. But if I was Kamala's campaign, I would almost call Trump's bluff and say, all right, I'll debate you on the 24th or the 27th, and then force Trump to say, no, I'm not debating. And it would be a Fox News debate, so it would look bad for Trump. That what Fox News did is possibly going to make Trump look bad unless Kamala really has no spine. But I think they're backed behind a corner, and maybe Kamala might agree to that debate on the 24th or 27th to try and make Trump agree or force something to where if he doesn't agree, it makes him look bad because it's Fox News, and you would figure it'd be Republican, so Trump would want to do it. But at this point, with where Trump is in terms of the election, I think if she did agree to that Fox News debate, it would show just how bad and dire her internal numbers are if she actually agreed to that. I don't know if she will. I'm just speculating if she does. The dynamics of it, her internals would have to be real, real bad for her to agree to something like that. And then also there's the strategy of, well, if Trump doesn't agree to it, then we can kind of use that against him. Although really, does that matter? I don't think so. Either way, it would just go to show you the desperation of the Harris campaign. Remember, Harris wanted another debate right after the first one. I would imagine that first request by Harris was a combination of things, having the debate that close to the election, the dynamic of a lot of Democrats already early voting and some different things, and Trump not accepting it. I think Trump did a good thing not to accept that debate, even though I'd like to see another debate just because it would be entertaining. But either way, I will say this doesn't really surprise me at all. There is clear panic within the Harris campaign. There's also reports, I think I had some tweets on this. You could just see these recent polls that we're watching. There are reports you can see. I just saw some new private polling. That's very robust private polling. Kamala Harris is in a lot of trouble in the conversations I'm having with Trump people and Democrats with data. They are extremely bullish on Trump's chances in the last 48 hours. And you would wonder, well, how about some of that whale money from Polymarket going in on Trump? Could they have maybe caught wind of some of these internal polls that look really good for Trump, like the internal poll that had Trump up by 3 in Wisconsin? Now we've got Quinnipiac polls that have Trump +2 in Wisconsin, +4 in Michigan, and Pennsylvania has swung pretty drastically, even though Quinnipiac, that poll had Harris up by 2. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.